On this week's episode, I make some noises. So, as we walk through, we'll just have a look. The girls here, we cast, as you saw in the last video, I think, we made this mould of the big driftwood tree that we've been working on, and that's actually going to be cast in bronze resin. And the girls and myself, we cast that in bronze resin the other day, and now they're just pulling everything out of the mould. And as you can see behind me, all these different branches of the tree. There's 5 different branches, all going to be attached to this one lovely column of a tree, a driftwood tree. I'll bring it out, 2 secs. Let's just bring it out. This is the sort of almost finished product in regards to like casting a bronze resin. So Lisa's going to take you through what she's been doing on these pieces, as they're in 3 different sections. So you've got the main roots, then you've got the column, and then you've got all the branches. So it's, well, more than 3 sections, but there are 3 components to making this tree. But Lisa's going to take you through that in a moment. So as you saw the bronze resin cast outside, this is actually the original. So this is what we've taken a mold from. And the client actually filled in all of these sort of areas where rubber would get stuck. So we call them locks. And a lock is where a rubber basically gets into an area and can't be removed. So what he's done is he's filled it in with wax, and it's created a lovely shallow abstract form. And this is the root section of the tree. Then you've got the main trunk of the tree, and outside you've got all the branches of the tree. So we waxed this up, we took a mold of it. Actually, we've got a clip of us making a mold of this little root section. So Jordan might just put a little clip of that now. And then you can have a look to see what we've done making a mold of this root section. So outside we've got the bronze resin casts, and Lisa is working on those amazingly well. And I think what we'll do is we'll go outside and introduce you to Lisa. Lisa then can take you through what she's doing on her seam lines, using the various different resins and bronze powders to get rid of those seam lines so that it looks like it's all being cast in one piece. She's doing a great job, but she'll explain it a lot better than I can. And yeah, let's go outside and see her. So I'm sure you've had enough of me talking, because I certainly have enough of my own voice. I think it's about time Lisa took over and explained what she was doing, because, well, she's doing an amazing job. So Lisa, take it away.
Okay, so what I'm doing here, this has come out the mold, and we've laid this up. A gel coat of bronze powder and resin, then we've put in a thicker coat, then we've put in some fiberglass matting. And when we put the molds together, we have to do the seams with like some chopped strand and some resin. And then as you can see, these are the seams, this is how it comes out. So my job is to get rid of all this, which is pretty quick. You can just knock off, that's the first thing you do, you knock off all the excess. Then you get a Dremel and you work these seams, and you do that all over. That's quite messy, you wear a mask and everything for that. The whole seam with a hammer and knocked off all this excess, and then gone down with the Dremel and got it smooth. I then take an old wire brush and vigorously brush it like this, and as you can see it brings out the bronze powder. And what it also does, actually you can't see on this one because it's a good cast. Can you see there's some tiny little holes there? When you rub this, what it does is it reveals any tiny little bits of air. that need to be filled, and it's really important because if this goes outside and the sun beats down on it, the air will heat up and it will blow the surface. So you vigorously brush it, and that's a good one as well. Hang on. Okay, that's another very good. There's good casting going on here. I will find a bit to show you. I'm gonna find some. Here we are. See that? That has been revealed because of the scrubbing. And then the next stage you got to do, you can't just leave it. You've got to chip it out as much as possible because you need to fill that. So after you've scrubbed it vigorously, you then have to go over the whole thing, tapping it like this. And you can hear when there's a bit of casting that isn't strong enough. When there's something, what would have happened is you'd get the gel coats and then the fiberglass mesh, and they might not have joined. Usually you only get like a few things like this, but it's usually in an ingle nook where you put the fiberglass matting in, but it doesn't quite touch in a couple of places. You can see these little holes that are coming through, so that's quite normal. And then I would have to go around and then putty those. But you would also tap the whole thing and absolutely make sure that you're not giving this to the client with any little holes under the surface, because it could look really great and then they take it away, and then a few months outside in the sun and they may well have a little hole. So you've got to go over the whole thing like that. Then you'll get to this stage where you can then see where the two join, how much puttying you need to do and how much moulding. Now this particular, I've just done this bit here, this particular sculpture is, as you can see, it's a tree, so it's quite simple. We just have to literally stroke the paintbrush up to get the nice effect of the tree. Quite a lot of the sculptures don't come out like this, and we have to spend a long time remoulding and making sure those seams are really hidden, because sculptors don't like to see the seams of their work. So this one I have already done. So I've gone down all the seams. We wire brush it, we knock it, we check to see if there's any little air bubbles or anything, and we fill those. And then once I've puttied it, I then sand it lightly, and then that's ready for patinating. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how I do my puttying. So first off, I mix up this, and this is resin, filler powder, calcium carbonate, and bronze powder. And there's no catalyst in this. So this, the first thing, I mix up this nice pot of paste, and then I get my knife. Now in this weather out here, it's going off really fast. So I'm only mixing up very small amounts at a time. So what I'll do, so I'll get a little bit like that. Okay, and this is catalyst, resin catalyst. I just dip it in. It's supposed to be 2%, but that it's kind of done by estimate. So that's my tool's just broken. Great. Okay, I'll use this one. Right. So I quickly mix it, and I've only got a few minutes to work this because of the weather and the fact it will go off quite quickly. So I'm going to do this seam here. So basically I put in too much to begin with. If it's a really delicate sculpture, you don't slap it on so much, but something like this, it's absolutely fine to just put on quite a lot of excess and work it into any of the holes as well. Try not to get it on any bits that don't want to get filled. Before this goes off, I need to get my paintbrush and acetone, which is essentially nail varnish remover. So as you can see, this looks pretty rubbish. If I was to leave this, it would look very ugly and I'd have a lot of complaints. But then I get paintbrush, acetone, and this paintbrushes, they're quite coarse and they've got a bit of texture to them, which is perfect for this tree. So you work these seams, and you don't want it to be raised at all. So when I Dremeled the seam, I made sure it was nice and flush. So you work that seam. I mean, you don't do it in one. There'll be a few times that I do this to get it just right. For a seam like this, it's quite quick. It's literally seamless. Well, it will be. If you use too much acetone, it can go a little bit chalky on the surface. So try to keep the brush. I tend to put it in and go like that a couple of times just to make sure there's not too much if I'm doing something that's not as quick and uniform as this. So you see that has already gone off. That's not usable now. It's not hard, but it's just not usable. So, and I only mixed up a tiny amount. Good idea to clean your tool before it goes off as well, because it's a real bugger to get off this. You can actually heat it and then it comes off, but I just try and get the tool cleaned and ready for the next bit. At this stage, what I might want to do is like work in, see some of these lines, might want to work in some of those. I mean, it might not show much at the moment, but so then soften it just to give it a bit more of a tree sort of look. So whatever there is, like, just give it. If I was working on like a big sculpted form, I would at this point work in the tool marks using a selection of tools as if I was the sculptor. But this tree doesn't need much, it just needs a few lines, I think. This lot has all gone off, and you see it's still a bit lumpy. So now you just, and always follow the grain if you've got something like this. You can also rework it with the Dremel and get some nice delicate little bits carved in. It's quite easy to sand, quite time consuming. This tree's quite quick, but some of the other stuff I've done can take all day to do something. Okay, and then I just mix up some more. That's gone off already, and that's not usable. It's quite tempting to want to use it at that stage, but it's not as strong, so you have to just get rid of it. We've got this whole tree to do like that, so luckily it is quite a quick process at the moment, because otherwise we'd be here for blimmin' ages just doing that. So this is one that we puttied in the same way. And you can see there's no way you can do it as quickly as you can with that tree for this. We had to try and hide all the seams and recreate all these textures. Look at all these little textures of fabric. We had to get fabric and literally push it into the putty. We couldn't use it too wet, we had to use it at the right consistency so it takes the imprint of the fabric as well. We have to resculpt this. Sometimes you might find a little bit of resin hasn't gone into the corn of the corn there, and so we had to rebuild that. Or bits could come off and you've got to like remold them. So you can do it in such a way that you're really resculpting the seams. And then you would use tools, something like, there's a seam there that you can't see, but you would use tools to scrape in and basically match all around it. A bit like photoshopping, I suppose. Same sort of thing. You match the things around it, and that takes a long time. I think that took at least a day to just putty that. This is one I did, and this took about a day. And so same sort of thing. because it's smaller, there won't be so much of a seam to hide. That we tend to do them so it's quite crisp and tight. But basically resculpting all the feathers so that it's not raised and it's blended. I also had to, because we had a little bit of trouble with this foot, the base of the foot came off, so I had to drill into it, put some support, some metal support, and re-sculpt that toe completely to match the other ones. And you just do it in the same way as that, but obviously you use finer tools and you sort of sit down and you really make sure that you get it just right.
What's up guys, thank you for watching this week's episode where Lisa has been fettling the branches and the main tree for the big bronze resin tree. It's going to look absolutely amazing. So until tomorrow guys, we'll see you there. Alright, you ready, Zig? What's up, gang? Thank you for watching this week's episode. I hope you had a little bit of an insight to what we actually get up to with the resins, and I hope Lisa explained it quite nicely so you guys can follow along and, you know, with a bit of more of an understanding of what we get up to. And obviously Tom as well. Tom's a new person that we've employed and he's doing an amazing job, and the angel's looking absolutely incredible. Hang on, let me do that again.